Right, this is another Patch's short story. This one's called The Pebble. I wrote these a couple of years back or more. I just found them again under the bed. I'll do some new ones soon when I'm inspired enough. Right, here we go. The Pebble. I'm sure some of these stories get nicked. Someone like Hollywood Studios will send me on YouTube and they'll nick my stories and use them for films. Bastards. I don't get no bloody nothing for it. Right, Patch woke up. He brushed his teeth, had a wash, and got dressed. It was a Sunday, and he had absolutely nothing to do, which he quite liked. After he had breakfast, he decided to go out in the car, and once behind the wheel of his Toyota, he said to himself, "Where the hell am I going?" He had no idea. As he turned the corner, he decided that he fancied the beach. It was December, so it wasn't the place you'd expect to go normally, but Patch was an odd one. He parked his car outside the Marina Centre at Great Yarmouth. And he got out and he breathed in the cold sea air. Ah, he voiced. You can't beat the sea air. Some women passing gave him a strange look and looked the other way. He smiled to himself. He quite liked to be a little bit different, and he headed towards the beach. He pulled off his trainers and placed his socks inside each one, and he began strolling through the sand. Occasionally he'd stand on a pebble and curse. Fuck's sake. He walked up to the froth of the sea and gasped as the water covered his feet. Fuck, that's cold, Jesus. He threw a few skimmers across the water, and 5 was the highest count today. He didn't see one person on the sand that day, and almost felt a bit lonely by himself. He carried on walking, and the further he went, he felt more lonely. Most of the time he was a happy-go-lucky chap, but today he was feeling a bit blue. He turned round and began heading back towards the Marina Centre. I need to get among some people, he said. It's like a bloody ghost town here. He picked up one more pebble to throw. It was a lovely flat pinkish coloured one, and as he raised his arm to throw, he had a sensational warm, happy feeling filling his body. He laughed out to the sea. Wow! I feel great! He put the pebble subconsciously into his pocket and walked back to his car. He sang songs for the entire trip home and felt ecstatic. His neighbour said hello as he arrived at them. He chatted to her, laughing and joking for ages. Then he went inside. He undressed to shower, and whilst under the shower he felt down again. He finished, got out, dried himself, and went upstairs. Oh, one of my lugs has fell off. He went to hang his jeans up, when suddenly something fell out and hit the floor. It was the pebble from Yarmouth Beach. He picked it up from the floor, and straight away he was on cloud 9, grinning ear to ear. He sat down holding this pebble. He kept revolving it in his chair, thinking, surely not, surely not. He then put the pebble onto his desk, and yes, just what he thought, his mood dipped. This pebble held a very powerful secret. It relieved depression. He picked it up again and then got his phone. He found Susie up and then he texted her. Hope you are okay. They text daily, and Patch knew she was struggling with depression and felt he needed to try her with the pebble. It wasn't until 3 hours later that he actually got a response. Hiya, not too good today. Not like a text has a tone. I'm in bed. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Why don't you pop over, he asked. Yeah, okay, it'll be a while though. I have to clean the house and take this and that round people's first. No problem, he replied. He was used to her hectic lifestyle. When she arrived 3 hours later, he gave her a can of drink and some Maltesers. So how are you, girl? Oh, fucking not good. I'm skint, I owe so much money, and I start a new job on Sunday, and I'm terrified. Anyway, what have you been up to? You haven't texted much today, boy. He smiled and he began. He told her the story of his day and she burst out laughing. You really need to put this one in one of your short stories, it's crackers. So where is this magical fucking stone then? She goaded. It's not a fucking stone, it's a pebble. And it's quite a beautiful one at that. He pulled it from his pocket and held it in his palm. "That's pretty, isn't it?" she said, looking at it from all angles. "Do you want to hold it, Susie?" he asked. "You never call me by my name. How odd," she replied. "I'll give the fucking thing here." And she took it and curled her fingers around it. Patch watched her with great detail. Her face took a gleam of pure beauty and looked so at peace, like she had like a beauty of 10 on her device. Oh, right, I get it. A small tear descended from one of her eyes and rested on the corner of her lip. "Jesus Christ," she spoke. "I feel so amazing. This can't be real, Patrick. It can't." He said to her to pass it back and see. "No way. I'm not risking that," she said. "If it's true, I'd go all gloomy again," she said, not in a distressed manner, but calm and sober. "Come on, girl, put it down and see what happens. It'll still be there if you don't like the result." "Okay, I'm putting it on the table." She reluctantly placed the pebble down onto the table. She stared at it, her frown returning, and she seemed to age very slightly. "I feel bloody awful," she said, and went to grab it, but Patch put a cup over it before she could do so. "What the fuck are you doing?" she told him. It'd still be there if I needed it." He stared at her and said, "Do you realise what I have found out about this little fucker? Over the course of last night I had handled it on and off and periodically put it down. At the time I had not realised, but every time I had placed it down and then reheld it, I had aged slightly every time. Look at me, Carla. Just look." In all the excitement she hadn't noticed her friend's face had changed. He had aged visually, more lines, even his skin looked greyer. She didn't want to offend him, but she couldn't help her expression. It was obvious to him that she was repelled. "That's why I covered it up, girl. You're lucky you held it only once." "Why let me hold it at all?" she asked. I want to hold it again." "No, girl. Can't you see? It's like heroin or something. The urge to hold it. It's just immense." "So why the fuck did you get me to?" she shouted once again. "Because, my dear, you wouldn't have believed a damn thing unless you had experienced it yourself." She backed down and agreed with him. "So what happens now? Will you go back how you were yesterday?" He shook his head. "I have no idea, girl." "Well, I'm staying here tonight, boy. I'm not leaving you." He said, "Don't be stupid," etc. But he was very pleased she was staying, and he felt more at ease. "Are you hungry, girl?" "Cool, yeah," she said. "Okay, egg and bacon it is," and he went to the kitchen. He put the kettle on and turned on the hot plate and put the frying pan on. After a few minutes of turning the bacon over and making the tea, he suddenly stopped. "Fuck," he cried. "I've left her upstairs with that damn thing," and he bolted up the staircase. He entered his room, and before him was Susie. She was in his chair, eyes closed, smiling, looking years younger, and the pebble was clasped in her fist. "No!" he screamed. Her eyes burst open, and she pulled her hand behind her. "Put it on the table. Put it down, please." "No fucking way. I feel fantastic. You can fuck off," he insisted. He leapt onto her, trying to prise the pebble from her clenched fist. She kneed him in the bollocks, and he crashed to the floor in agony. She jumped from the chair like a gazelle and fled through the door, downstairs and out the front door. By the time Patch had recovered, she and her precious new pebble were long gone. He walked to the window and peered through the glass and mumbled, "What the hell have I done?" He looked on his phone, and Snapchat and Instagram were already filling up with positively happy postings. "Isn't this fab? Look at this, great, isn't it?" For a couple on one picture, she had put a photo of the pebble and labelled it as "My Pocket Nirvana." People were asking what it was, and she had, in her manically happy state, told everyone what it was and how it had cured all ills of mental pain. Silly girl. "They will be hunting her down for the pebble," he cried. He got into his Toyota and shot off in her direction at a rate of knots. He arrived after, in 15 minutes. Her car was in the drive and several people were banging on the door. He knew where the spare door key was, and he snuck round the back scaled the fence and let himself in, locking the door behind him. Nobody was downstairs. He began to climb the staircase. Are you there, girl? Carla, it's me. Carla? Look, I didn't change names, isn't it? Louise, it's supposed to be it. Got me. Bedrooms were empty, so he approached the bathroom door. He tapped on it. Hello? No answer. He put his ear to the wood and turned the handle, but it was locked. He heard a breath behind the door. He shouted, "Stand back, girl! I'm going to kick the door in." It took several hard kicks before the door finally crashed away, and Patch was left with a horrific vision before him, there in the bathtub, barely breathing, looking like an old grandmother, her hair balding and grey, deep lines on her skin and age spots all over her skin. She turned and looked at Patch and tried to smile. Teeth fell from the mouth as she did so, and she pulled at her hair and screamed. Clumps of long spiderweb hair came out in her fists. She let out a faint, "Help me!" Patch fell to his knees in tears. "No!" he cried, and then he noticed that the pebble wasn't on her. It was nestled behind the hot and cold taps of the bath. Maybe, just maybe, he thought. He picked up the towel, wrapped his hand with it, and pulled the pebble from the faucets. He picked up Louise's aged hand, placed the pebble in her palm, and closed her wasted fingers around it, and nothing happened. He sat there staring at his poor specimen and pleading for something to happen. She looked him in the eye, a rare occurrence, and she knew what he was trying to do. She managed to contort her mouth into a kind of smile. Suddenly, he noticed a change. The skin seemed to tighten, and it was like a crinkled balloon being filled with air. As each line and crease disappeared, her spine straightened and her hair returned to its beautiful blonde and silky state. Her nails returned to a healthy look, and her eyes returned to that gorgeous twinkle. She smiled and fell into his arms in relief, and sobbed. "I could feel myself dying, Patrick. I had only minutes, I know I did." After 10 minutes or so, he helped her from the bath. Hair and pieces of flaky skin remained there, which he washed down the plug hole. People were still gathering outside. She decided to put more posts online explaining it was all a hoax, and after an hour or so people gradually dispersed. He made a brew and they sat together on her sofa. "You do realise you can't ever let that damn thing go, don't you?" "Yes, I gathered that. What the hell have you done, Patrick?" "It's okay, girl. The pebble will look after you, keep you happy, and even slow down your aging process, but just don't ever drop it. And please God, never lose it," he stated. That following week they had the pebble cut in half and crushed into flakes, and they both had flakes permanently locked into lockets which hung around each of their necks. And indeed this had done the job. They both would never become down or depressed again, and the comments each received about looking great for their age was amazing. It also brought an incredible bond between them. Ah, the end. I've even done an illustration for this one. Look at that. Fucking hell. That is worthy of a fucking Hollywood film.